Hello, guys, welcome to another episode. I'm trying a new way of recording, so if I'm looking in a weird place, it's because I'm now recording off my laptop instead of my phone. I've upgraded. So, welcome to a new episode, new podcast, whichever one you're watching or listening to. This episode is a question of: do you hate wasting food and money, which then causes you to overeat? If that is the case, I totally got you. The title's actually technically a bit shorter than that, but because I'm speaking and not typing, that's the actual question properly. So let's get real. So, have you ever overeaten because you didn't want to waste food or money, or perhaps you spent like €20 or £20 on a meal and felt that you had to finish your whole plate because you didn't want to waste it, and taking it away to eat later is like just not an option? Or maybe you can't take it out. So say if you did want to take it away with you to eat later, maybe you can't, and then you feel it's disrespectful to waste food, or whatever reason. And I totally get it, because these are hard, ingrained psychological blocks to overeating, and let's tackle them one by one. Okay, so let's go. So the reasons why you hate wasting food. So just to paint a pretty picture here, I'm going to list all the ways you might be afraid of wasting food or money or both. So I'm going to list them, and if I miss any out, please comment below and let me know. So one is, you think it won't be as good or as tasty to eat later, so you may as well eat it now. You know that you'll be hungry later, so you're going to eat it now, so you're not going to be hungry later. So you're eating just in case you get hungry later on. You've spent your hard-earned money on this food or meal or whatever it is you're eating. You don't want to waste your money by not eating it. You literally feel like you can't take it away to eat later, for example, a pizza or whatever, because it won't taste as nice warmed up as it does right now. You can't take it away. You can't take it in a doggy bag for whatever reason, and you don't want to waste food or money. A big one, which is a massive one for me and loads of my clients, is you were trained by your mum and your dad when you were younger to finish your plate no matter what, and so you literally just have to eat everything on your plate because that's ingrained in you. Almost done, two more. You think others are going to judge you as a bad person if you waste food. And you think that, this is also one that was relevant to me, you think that if you waste food, it's disrespectful to people in the world who don't have enough food to eat. So I think those sum up the biggies as to why you overeat, because you don't want to waste food or money. So like I say, if I've missed any, then comment below. So tip number one then is recognise when you're chasing the pleasure. And what I mean by that is, by chasing the pleasure, these refer to the 2 points that I said earlier, being you think it won't be as tasty or as nice to eat it later, so you eat it now instead, even though you're full. And the same sort of thing really, you don't want to take it away to eat later because it won't be as tastier, or it won't be as, the texture won't be as nice, or basically, in short, it won't taste as good later as it does now because it's not fresh. So whatever you feel blocks about wasting flavour or leftovers that won't be as good, you could equate this to chasing the pleasure, which isn't a bad thing because food is pleasurable, let's be honest. But when you only eat for pleasure and constantly source out pleasure of eating, even when you're not hungry at all, that's called hedonic eating. And whilst that's totally okay sometimes, because let's be honest, that's life, and especially with my clients and in intuitive eating, whatever you really feel like eating, you should eat. But that's normally based on your body's hunger cues, not just because you want to eat it, which again, I really want to make it clear, that's totally okay, that's life. But when you're constantly doing it all the time, it can become a problem, because it's almost like you're addicted to food instead. And I'm going to do an article about that because that was an actual real thing for me. So watch this space. I'm going to do a blog, podcast episode, and YouTube video about that. So number 2 is stop eating for the hunger to come. So that's from the block that I mentioned earlier. You know that you'll be hungry later, so you're going to eat now instead. Well, the bad thing about that is, if I'm labelling good or bad, I don't like to do that, but the unhelpful thing about that is if you're overeating now because you think you're going to be hungry later, you're eating in advance, that's what you're doing. But if you overeat now, it means you need to undereat later if you want to achieve your natural weight and not put weight on. But we all know how awful and dangerous it is to restrict our diets. Hence the reason diets don't work, because if you restrict anything, there's always a counterbalance, and then you end up binging, and there's all a host load of psychological reasons that come with that. So again, overeating now to then undereat later doesn't really make sense. So it's a poor excuse for simply just planning. So just plan ahead, take that food that you can't eat now with you to have later. It might not taste as good, but you still get to eat it, or just plan snacks in or whatever. So number 3 is start thinking about money as an investment. Now this was a really good one for me when I was overcoming binge eating and leaving food, because I physically could not leave any food whatsoever. So these apply to the blocks that I spoke about earlier, 2 blocks. One of them, you literally can't take it with you if you're at a restaurant for some reason or other and you don't want to waste your money by not eating it, or you've spent your hard-earned money on it and you've just decided you're not going to waste that money, so you're going to eat it no matter what. But money blocks are one of the biggest psychological reasons for wasting food, because let's be honest, we just don't want to waste money. But let's look at it in a different way. So reverse psychology, okay? So let's put the money you do have aside. So think about the money you've got that you're not going to be wasting. And let me ask you a question. If there was some kind of magical procedure that would make you wake up tomorrow and you'd just become your perfect ideal body weight and body size, how much would you actually pay for that realistically? Like seriously, take a moment to answer that question. How much would you pay for that? I thought long and hard about it when I got asked that question, and at the time I said I'd spend about £20,000 to wake up the next day with the body that I wanted so desperately. But I've heard answers up to basically £500,000, up to £500,000, right? So be real with yourself when you answer this question, because the more honest you are, the more illuminating this exercise will be. So this really helped me, because then if I'm full and I feel like I'm going to waste €10 on a half-eaten meal, that's completely trivial compared to the money that I would literally have paid out to spend on my body. Excuse me. So perhaps we can spin it around and consider wasting money on stopping eating when you're full is actually an investment in your health, because it is. I know that's a bit of a different way to look at it, but anything that helps you honour your body's hunger and fullness cues will benefit your health. So number 4 is make an actual difference. So you think, and this again was a big one for me, that wasting food is disrespectful to people who don't have enough food, like the starving children in Africa, for example. But I'm not sure if you guys struggle with this one, but it was a big one for me. And I used to feel really guilty for leaving food because the rest of the world didn't have enough of it. So why would I waste it and chuck it in the bin when people literally can't eat for a whole week? So then I would eat it anyway. But then I realised that whether I ate the food myself when I wasn't hungry and I was overfull, whether I ate it just for the sake of not wasting it, or whether it went in the compost bin to then ultimately be put back into soil to then ultimately help things grow again, or it just went in my body then out the toilet the next day, let's be honest, what's wasting it more? Putting it in my body when I don't want it, causing my body to use more energy to digest it, or to just put it in the bin or a compost and it just to go back into the ground that way. So it doesn't, no matter what situation you choose to do, none of it is going to have any relevance on the starving people in Africa, because it's not going to help them at all. So when you look at it like that, it really helped me. So what I started to do, I've actually got 2 affiliate companies that I work with for fitness wear, fitness clothing. One's called Squat, but it's SQWT. It's quite cool, play on words. And one's called Neem Fit Girls. I'll put these in the notes and it's on my blog. And every bit of money I get from the affiliate of that, which isn't a lot at the moment, I'm hoping to change that, I give to charity. So I have different charities that I give to each month. So it will be either a domestic abuse charity, an eating disorders charity, or the water and food crisis in Africa charity. So I really hope that if this is important to you, you'll join me in making a difference, either by simply just giving to charity yourself or by treating yourself to some nice fitwear, and then I can then donate your part of the money to that. So that helps me get over my block on the starving children. That's why I can't waste food. Okay, so number 5, can the judgment, so get rid of the judgment from other people. So you think others are going to judge you and think you're a bad person because you're wasting food. Well, okay, let's be honest, as my previous article, like how to not care what others think, people are going to judge you, and people might look at you, waitresses, waiters, and be like, oh my god, she's not eating anything, what a waste. And you know what, if they judge you, they judge you. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't decide also what they're thinking. So even if you're adamant that they're judging you, 1, so what, the biggest reason, and 2, does it even matter? Because it's got, what they think about you is none of your business, which is one of my favourite sayings from Rachel Hollis. So stop being so hard on yourself. You're not a bad person for wasting food, and just give yourself compassion, listen to your body, and start practicing some self-love practices if you find this difficult. There's loads of self-love tips on my website, in my blog, if you're watching this or listening to this. Number 6, I've titled Sorry Mum, which is going to be related to eating every single food that's on your plate. So you were trained by your mum and dad to literally lick your plate clean. This is a big one for me. So many of us feel compelled to finish our plates regardless of fullness, because we were trained from such a young age, and this is so ingrained in us. I see it in my clients all the time, and it's not until I ask why they have to do that, they don't actually realise it was from such a young age that they've just, again, it's such an ingrained habit. But you can change your mental programming so you don't do that all the time. If you've had enough, take back your power. There's no, as an adult now, there's no one saying you've got to finish all the food on your plate before you're allowed dessert or before you can leave the table or whatever. You decide if you've had enough, chuck the food in the bin or save it till later. Don't force feed yourself just because your plate's still got food on it. What I teach my clients is around this, to deal with the mindset around this, is to put more on your plate on purpose. So say, let's talk about quantity, let's make it easy, for example. Oh, I said I'd make it easy, and I'm struggling to think of something. So say if you're going to have a burger, and you know that you're only really going to realistically want one burger, some chips and some beans. I don't know where this is coming from. So I would on purpose put too many beans on there, way too many chips, and unless you're eating alone, so you're not going to cook another burger, if you can, put way too, what the point I'm getting at is put way too much on your plate that you know you're going to want to eat, and then that helps you to leave it on purpose, because you're not feeling deprived, because you're still going to eat the amount that you would normally eat when you finish your plate, but it gets you into the habit of starting to leave something. So I hope that makes sense. I've waffled a little bit there. But also a really good thing to use is an affirmation, and affirmations are backed by science. Like when I first heard about affirmations, I thought it was a bit blasé. Like, how can something that you tell yourself make any difference whatsoever? But oh my god, affirmations are so freaking powerful. So again, that's another topic. But an affirmation as simple as I'm allowed to leave food on my plate and listen to my body instead, over and over again, when you feel that compelling feeling to eat what's on your plate when you're not hungry anymore, can help. So I'm allowed to leave food on my plate and listen to my body instead. The more you tell yourself that, the more it becomes a belief, and you'll program your subconscious mind, and it can seriously help. So you're an adult now, so it's up to you. So almost to the end, but the last point I want to say is, do you still hate wasting food? Well, bring it on. And what I mean by that is, these days I'm a huge advocate for wasting food. Food and money, because if I've bought food and I don't want to eat it, technically you could look at it that I'm wasting money. But does that still trigger you, what I'm saying, wasting food and money, if you no longer want to eat it? Well, that's a good thing, because then you've got work to do, so you can work on that, right? Remember the points I've said about you're technically not wasting the food, and you're technically not wasting your money, because it's almost a reverse psychology. You're investing it into the body and the health and the lifestyle you want. So go back to those points again. And the fear of wasting food and money are the biggest blocks that exist to overeating. So don't expect yourself to change overnight. It's like when I work on my clients with body acceptance, body confidence and body love, it ain't going to happen overnight, but it does 100% happen. You've just got to be dedicated to the steps to get from body hate to body love, and there's a process you go through. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you want it enough and do the work, it will happen, okay? The same with wasting food. So you won't be able to stop yourself from overeating all the time, because it's an ingrained habit, but don't beat yourself up if you do. Just practice. Practice makes progress, not perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. And instead, just stay curious about the psychological reasons why you overeat. So peel those layers back. Instead of just saying it's something I do, like my client said to me yesterday, I can't leave food on my plate, I have to always finish it. And then I said to her, well, you've already told me and yourself that you can't leave food on your plate, which means that you can't. How about looking at it from a different perspective and saying that you can leave food on your plate? You either can, or what's that saying? If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right either way. And it's so true. What we believe becomes true for us. So she was like, yeah, that's actually quite funny. And then she can leave food on her plate now, right? So it's just something to think about. Please comment below if you've got anything that will help other listeners or help me to deliver more value for you in the future. And I love you all, and I will see you on the next episode. And I'm trying to figure out how to shut this video off because it's completely different. There we go. Yeah, I've not said this for a few episodes, but I really mean it. You can have, do and be anything you want, so just go out and get it. And I love you. I'll see you next time.